In this video, you are going to learn what you need to know about your YouTube money and taxes, and we're starting right now.
That's just how it is. Ain't waiting on me.
What is going on? My name is Nick. Welcome to another video. If this is your first time here and you want to learn how to grow your channel and make videos and all types of other YouTube related stuff, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything. Okay, so as we all know, taxes are a very serious thing that we have to address when it comes to our YouTube money. Even if it's just a little bit, there's certain ways that we need to handle that money as far as taxes are concerned. Since I am not a tax guy, I called in Scott Weiss, who is a certified financial planner, and I called in Steve Stern, who is a certified public accountant, to help us understand what is going on with our YouTube money. And of course, how we should treat it when it comes to taxes. Now, I'll let you know right now that this video is a little more lengthy than usual, but it's packed with tons of information that might even save you some money. Hey Scott, hey Steve, what's going on?
How's it going, Nick?
Hey Nick, thanks so much for having us.
Going great, thank you, and it's an honor to have you guys on. So right now, you know, tax season is creeping up on us, and I've been getting a lot of comments and a lot of questions from YouTubers asking, you know, hey Nick, you know, what can you tell us about taxes for YouTube? And I'm not a tax person, you know, I'm not, that's just not my thing. I'm good at making videos look pretty, but I am not good at taxes, so I have to have somebody else do that. So I really appreciate you guys coming on because this is gonna be extremely valuable information for the people that watch the channel. So to get started, could you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. My name is Scott Weiss. I'm a certified financial planner. I work here with Steve. He is Steve Stern. He's a CPA, and we are out of just about 50 miles north of Manhattan in a little town called Mahopac.
Okay, that's awesome. So the first question that I would like to get started with, if you guys don't mind, is when does a YouTuber have to start claiming their Adsense income?
Well, I mean, since the IRS could look this up, technically, anytime you have any income coming in, you're supposed to declare it. So regardless of how much you're doing it, if it's just a few dollars, technically by the book, you're supposed to declare all of your income.
Okay, so there's no actual limit as far as, you know, hey, if I get over $600 or something like that, then I have to claim it. Even if they make $20, that they should still claim that amount on their taxes?
By the book, yes. The $600 threshold is usually for receiving a 1099. For that type of service, you'll get a 1099 possibly from YouTube if it's $600 or more. Anything under that, you know, even with the situations where you receive a 1099, it's the tax system's voluntary in those circumstances. So even if you didn't receive a 1099, any dollar amount that you receive that's an income, that's income you're supposed to declare on your taxes.
Okay, so when should a YouTuber start considering, you know, hey, I'm making a decent amount of money through my AdSense revenue? When should they consider actually changing YouTube, on the finance side, changing YouTube from a hobby into an actual business as far as, you know, taxes are concerned?
The first situation I'd say that you figure out is not necessarily a financial thing. One of the things you have to think about is make a decision. Am I looking to do this as a business, or am I looking to do it as a hobby? Because that's actually an important thing. If there's ever a situation where there's an IRS audit or something like that, it's not a dollar amount. It's establishing that you are actually looking to establish a business, if that's what you are declaring on the taxes. The difference that occurs when it's hobby versus business is the income still needs to be declared. The difference is that if it's a business, you can actually deduct expenses that go in excess of what your income is and can actually generate a loss. If the business is a hobby, then you can only basically bring the income that you generate, the revenues that you generate, down to zero. So that's the main distinction between the two. Right. If hypothetically, regardless of if you're a business or if it's a hobby, if your expenses are less than your revenues, the number is going to come out to be the same on the taxes that needs to be reported anyway. With the tax situation, it's not always just a number thing. A lot of it is actually a little bit of an objective reasoning and some just basically being able to explain that you are trying to generate a business, that you are trying to generate a profit.
And that's the key, is that you have to figure out at what point, you know, is this a hobby? Is this just a side hustle? Or is this really going to be, you know, your career? Is this where you're gonna make the most, make most of your money from? Or you intend to make most of your money from there? Then you start thinking about whether or not you wanna characterize this as a business and not just, you know, sort of a side project.
With a lot of things, not just this, a lot of it is establishing the intent. It's the establishing the intent that you are actually looking to generate a profit versus it's a hobby and YouTube's kicking me a little extra money for having some fun.
So basically then it all starts out at that planning stage. You know, that's something that I talk about a lot on the channel, is basically figuring out right before you even launch a channel, you know, figuring out what your long-term goal is, what that long-term plan is, and what you're talking about right here fits perfectly into that. So as part of that long-term plan then, for YouTubers, for tax purposes, it makes sense to actually include the idea of, okay, is this something that I'm going to actually do as an actual business, or am I just going to do this as a hobby and just kind of see how it works out?
Right.
Yeah, that's great information.
If you haven't figured it out for yourself yet, then you really can't convince the IRS one way or the other.
Sure, that makes total sense. So you were speaking before, which brings us to another question that I had on the list. You were speaking before about writing things off. So as a YouTuber, what type of things can a YouTuber write off on their taxes so that if they do have a business around it, they can claim a loss, or if they're doing it as a hobby, so that they can at least bring that amount down quite a bit?
So one of the key points is when it comes to taking any sort of deduction on a tax return, whether it's for a business, whether it's just for charity, whatever it is, the rule of thumb is reasonable and necessary. So if you are in the mode where you are saying, I am establishing a business, I am looking to make a lot of money off this, that's the goal. Whether or not it's happening right away or not is not relevant. You buy that camera and you say, this is my camera that I'm using for my YouTube videos that I'm trying to generate AdSense revenue with. That camera is going to be deductible. You may have to, depending how expensive it is, you may have to take that deduction over time as a depreciation. But on the flip side, that same camera, if you have, you're kind of in that in-between stage where you're like, I don't know if this is business or hobby. You may be using the camera, hey, I'm gonna use it for other things, so I might as well get it and I can shoot some YouTube videos with it. You might not want to deduct the whole thing. On top of that, honestly, anything that you can justify that you are using it specifically for that business purpose or to generate that, even the hobby income, if you're using that to generate that hobby income, you can justify a deduction for it. If you're going to different sites, you can deduct mileage. If you have props for your videos, you could deduct all those supplies and things like that. Like you said, not just the camera, the lighting, the stands, everything along those lines, you can definitely justify taking deductions for those. And then if you get to that point where you're a YouTuber, you have a business going, you actually are generating or plan to generate a decent amount of revenues, you could look into things like home office. You definitely segregate a section of your home where you know you're going to record all of your videos, then you can definitely justify taking a home office deduction.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
But, you know, one thing to keep in mind here, as much as Steve's given some great tips, you know, you really should talk to your CPA, right? I mean, everybody's situation is different, and a lot of the stuff that he's talking about is kind of generalizations,
right.
And your specific situation might be different. So it's always smart to, you know, talk to your CPA, talk to them about the things that you're doing. And getting back to what you were saying before, Nick, about the intent of your business, you know, this goes hand in hand. You know, have these discussions early so that, you know, you don't go ahead and buy that, you know, $6,000 camera and then realize, you know, thinking that you could write it off and then you can't. You know, planning and sort of ahead of time and figuring this out, particularly if it's a business venture, is crucial.
Right.
I would say, right?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this. There's a lot of YouTubers, as you guys know, there's a lot of YouTubers that are actually travel vloggers. So in a situation, you know, to where somebody says, okay, well, not only am I going to try to generate a business from YouTube, but I'm also going to travel around the world for my YouTube channel. I mean, of course, you know, I'm going to enjoy the places that I go to, but the purpose that I'm traveling around the world for is so that I can record all of this footage for my YouTube channel. In a situation like that, can they get deductions on travel as well?
Goes back again to reasonable and necessary, and this doesn't just apply to YouTubers, this applies to any business. If Scott and I go attend a conference out of town, and the conference is 2 hours long on one day, and we stay in that out of town for 2 weeks, then all of those extra expenses that we took, the hotel rooms, the meals, everything else like that, if we're just playing golf or something like that the rest of the time and there's just one conference on the one day, we have to be reasonable about that and basically take just a piece of what we spent on that trip for, you know, the travel, the meals and entertainment, anything else that we're doing while we're out of town, that sort of thing. Again, it goes back to that reasonable and necessary situation. If we're not actually conducting business the rest of the time, if we're just sightseeing once we are out of town after we've taken care of whatever we have to take care of business related, then you're supposed to technically just take a portion of those expenses and deduct those against your income.
And I guess if it would be, you know, a travel vlog, if you're going and you're doing your vlog and you're taking, you know, videos of the sites and everything, and then you took a couple of days to see some family members and you're sort of tacking it on to the trip, that's where it gets, you know, iffy.
The important thing, and nobody's going to want to hear this because nobody would want to do this while they're traveling, is keep a record, keep a log of what you're doing on a daily basis. Even if you think about, you were talking about like a travel, you know, situation where you're going on site and trying to get different things on camera or whatever it is. Even if you can justify the parts of the trip, even if you are sightseeing, you might be scouting out other sites. Maybe you want to do another video while you're there. You just have to be reasonable about it. You know, it's a harsh term, but we use the term pigs get slaughtered. I mean, that's if you get greedy and you try to really stretch things out. It's already nice that you would be able to travel around and take some deductible expenses while you're traveling and maybe enjoying yourself a little bit. Don't stretch it too far. Don't get greedy.
Yeah.
So since you guys, and I'm going to make this specific, this next question, I'm going to make this specific to the U.S. because that's where you guys are based, and really most of this is specific to the U.S. But do you guys have any additional advice for taxes, or Scott, you know, you're a financial planner as well. Do you guys have any advice that you can lay on YouTubers as far as, you know, financial planning is concerned, or things that they need to keep in mind in general when it comes to taxes, you know, based around their YouTube channels, their YouTube presence, or whatever it is that they're doing here on YouTube?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest problems that a lot of small business owners face is that they don't save any money, right? I mean, that's the biggest issue, because you know, you're trying to grow your business and you end up, you know, nurturing that business and throwing your money back into that business and sort of surviving, if you will. It is really important that you sort of set some money aside on an ongoing basis. One of the things that we talk about is that as you age, at some point, you know, you lose what's called your human capital, your ability to continue to make money. And so you want to set some money aside so that when that day comes, and it's going to come, that you have some money set aside. Now, to tie that back into these tax questions is, you know, in the U.S., you have the ability to contribute to retirement plans like an IRA. There's traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, and they both serve different purposes and meet different needs. With a traditional IRA, there's some tax savings now. With a Roth IRA, there's some tax savings later. So those are things that you can kind of think about, particularly right now, you know, during the time where you're preparing your tax returns and things like that, setting that money aside. I mean, my rule of thumb is always to try and set aside 10% of whatever you bring in. You know, put that aside and you'll be in good shape down the road. I can't say fine, but you'll be, you should be in good shape down the road if you're socking away 10%. But I mean, that's the key. Now, the other thing is that some YouTubers, I'm sure YouTube is sort of a side project, right? Maybe they have a full-time job somewhere else. Maybe they have a 401k plan at that job. You know, take advantage of these things, particularly if you're making some extra money on the side. Make sure that you're contributing to your 401k plan at work, and that'll help reduce your tax burden. These are the things that you're gonna need to think about. And again, things that you're going to want to talk to your CPA about is what can you contribute to, what things can you take advantage of, and how will it help to reduce your tax burden sort of during the year. Those are the tips that, you know, anybody can have, regardless of the United States or not, you know, to be setting aside at least 10% of your salary, particularly as a small business owner.
Two real key things to keep in mind there, specifically for the U.S. The deductions you get for contributing to retirement plans are the only situation where you get to pay yourself and save taxes. So it's not even leaving your household. It's going from one pocket to the other, and you save taxes by doing so, as long as it's not a Roth. The other thing that Scott touched on is, in the YouTube situation, it doesn't have to be your full-time employment for it to be considered a business. You can still have a business outside of your day job or a full-time job, whatever it is. When you don't, if that's just extra money that you're generating by putting effort into being a YouTuber, that's a perfect situation to just shelter as much as possible, whatever's allowable. And you can, like Scott said, consult with your CPA. There are different ways, different retirement plans that you can do that actually, if you have a significant amount of income coming in from the side and you don't need it for anything, you can put a big chunk of it away so that you're not paying it out up front to Uncle Sam.
Excellent tips, guys. Thank you very much for that. So for you guys, and first I want to say that this is very valuable information, and I really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing it. For people that want to find out more about this stuff, or maybe people that are interested in your services in particular, you know, people in the United States, people that are local to your area, where can they get in touch with you guys?
I actually have a YouTube channel, Scott Weiss CFP. You can go check it out. I have I put up a lot of content about you know, financial planning.
I'll put a link, I'll put a card up here somewhere going to Scott's channel, so make sure you check that out.
Yes, so you can go check that out. That's probably, you know, for YouTubers, that's probably where they want to get that information from.
I visit every once in a while too.
He visits every once in a while. But now, you know, it's a very personal thing, whether, you know, looking for a CPA or looking for a certified financial planner. I would say check out the NAPFA website. You know, the key is you want to look for qualified professionals, right? You want to look for somebody who has a CFP mark, certified financial planner, to help you with some of the planning issues that we talked about here. And also look for a CPA. I mean, if you're looking for those designations, you know that those people have the education, have the experience, and, you know, and continue to, you know, work toward improving themselves in order to maintain those designations.
Awesome information, guys. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. So like we mentioned before, there's going to be a card that is going to Scott's channel. You can get to that by clicking on the info card. And I'm also going to put a link to Scott's channel down in the description below, so you guys can go over there and check that out as well. And thanks again, guys, for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. This is valuable information, and it's going to fill in a lot of answers for questions that, you know, that a lot of people have around this time surrounding YouTube. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for having us, Nick.
If you are not already subscribed and you want to learn how to grow your channel and make videos and all types of other YouTube related stuff, go ahead and hit the round icon right now to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.